Are you going to do your little sound?
Boom, go.
Welcome to
Welcome to Conversations with Asha and Steve, where communication matters. Join us as we discuss effective ways to communicate, bridge the gaps, and build long-lasting relationships within your business and life. Here are your hosts, Asha Prasad and Steve Harper.
Welcome to Conversation with Asha and Steve. I'm Dr. Asha, and with my host, my very funny co-host, Steve Harper. How are you doing,
You
Steve?
mean that like funny looking, right? Not funny.
No,
I'm
no,
not.
no, no, no. I mean, like
I have no.
hilarious.
I'm not humorous at all. At
You
all.
are. You
No,
really are. You just don't even realize it.
I'm not.
How
You
you
have to be
doing,
drunk
Steve?
for me to actually come across as funny. But thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. I will not be going out on comedy tour anytime soon. Yeah,
Okay, well, we'll hold off another 10 years, and he'll be out on tour. Don't worry.
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get Howie Mandel to work with me.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
Well, so we are talking about today as part of our, the Banana Peels of Entrepreneurship, which has
Mhm.
proven to be a really fun series that we've done that
Yeah.
are some of the gotchas that entrepreneurs don't often think about as they're either
Mhm.
starting their venture or they're growing their venture. And as we're looking to wrap this up, this series has been really well received by our audience, and we're grateful for that. But one of the things that I think has come up is no shortcuts in building the business.
Mhm.
There is no shortcut to success. You got to put in the work, you got to put in the time, and you want to maintain that focus. And that's something that I think you and I have both experienced personally when we're growing our various ventures, but also we've seen, clients who have taken their eye off the ball and
Yeah.
they are trying to take some easy routes to, bump up sales and, try and, build a bigger brand, et cetera. And, shortcuts often don't work out,
No.
to be super successful. It's not a good strategy, right? So, what do tell me a little bit about your thought process, what you've seen, and why this
Mhm.
is one of those big banana peels that can really get you as you're growing your business.
Well, I think one of the things that I have learned along the way, and I have seen this with a lot of my coaching clients as well too, Steve, is that slow and steady always wins the race.
Yep.
Because sometimes we can get so badly, we want to just excel. We want to just like jump from level 1 to level 25 like immediately. And the thing is that sometimes you can have those organic shifts that happen, but honestly, there are no shortcuts. You have to do certain things. You have to be diligent in all areas of your business, not just one, not just generating sales, not just generating, the potential for more revenue, but you've also going to be in the back end to make sure that your
Yep.
product, your service or whatever is also high quality to be able to generate the referrals and kind of looking down the line. So you've got to be able to see the way I always look at it is you've got to be able to view things spherically, not
Hmm.
linearly.
Yep.
Meaning, like if you're at the center, or your business is at the center, okay? And I kind of think of like a mind map if you think about this. This is the way my brain works in this way is that you're at the center. This is kind of scary for you, I'm sure. Getting inside my brain. I just realized that. But
Okay. This is Asha's brain. All
yeah,
right.
exactly. Exactly. So, but the thing is that everything that you do and everything that you focus on is an extension
Sure.
of your brand, of your business, of who you are. And if you look at it from that way, none of those can be neglected. Meaning you're going to have to figure out sooner, very, very soon, that each and every one of those branches or those different tasks that you have need to be nurtured in the same way. Because, and you can't shortcut that.
Yeah.
You can't just say, I'm just going to focus on sales over here and neglect how my product or my service is being delivered. You can't
Yeah.
do that. Right. And
Or
be
if there's,
and
yeah,
expect to be successful. I mean,
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. When I look at it, and I think it's actually an excellent visual, right? It's
mhm,
the concentric circles, right? But
right,
each
right.
little section has its own approach and responsibilities
Exactly.
and a level of importance for the business, because in order for the circle to continue to
Mhm,
maintain momentum, right, and to continue to roll
exactly.
forward, one always begets the other, right? And so figuring
Right.
out an avenue to ensure that those things are feeding the momentum, carrying that progress forward, I
Mhm,
think is really critical. Like you said, if you only focus on sales, but you're
Mhm.
really not paying attention to how the product is delivered, how the product, is
Right.
perceived by your customer, if you're not properly training them. And you're, as the entrepreneur, well, my team will figure it out. Or, people have it, eyes, they can read instructions,
Right.
it's not a good customer experience. Well, that's going to
No.
adversely affect you as well, right? Your reputation, could be
Exactly.
impugned that way. Or if there is a problem, how do they solve that problem? Did they have a good
Exactly.
customer service experience? Do they have a good point of contact that they can reach out to? Or are you so focused
Right.
on the next sale that you don't even really care about, I've already got that money, I'm moving on. And I see that as a
Exactly.
big problem for a lot of entrepreneurs,
It's
especially in
huge.
growth mode, high growth mode. They're not actually thinking about what it takes in order to sustain that growth, because
Mhm.
they're too busy focused on what's next, and
Yeah.
they're not caring about, the little things that end up adding up to big things. And so the way that you approach it in terms of the concentric circle is
Mhm.
everything begets the next thing, right? And you start
Exactly.
all the way back over and it kind of comes back through. And
Yeah.
so, you've got to figure out what that circle looks like for you. And each business is uniquely different. And this
Right.
is really, the mind map is a great example of that, Asha, that you bring up. Is because I
Mhm.
think for entrepreneurs to really truly appreciate every aspect of their business, they really
Mhm.
should do this. They should do it often, right?
Right.
Review it, make
Very
sure
do
that
it
they're
often.
not
Yeah.
missing things, making sure that the team is well informed about each of these components, and asking,
Exactly.
the people that they depend on for their support. Are we dropping any balls? Are we missing anything that,
Right.
isn't on here that needs to be? Or, where do we need to put our emphasis and our effort? Because when you take that focus off, and you try and
Mhm.
shortcut one area of the business, it'll inevitably catch up with you in other areas.
It really does. It really does. And that also goes to the point of taking care of your employees as well.
Yep.
Okay. One thing that I've seen with a lot of my coaching clients, not a lot of them, but some of them, where they have neglected taking care of their employees as well,
Yeah.
and figuring out and checking in with them and seeing that is so vitally important. It's one of the biggest things. So in fact, I think it is a good idea for everybody to make this kind of mind map and just draw it out, just visually see it. What are the different areas of your business?
Yeah.
What are the different components of it? What makes all of that up? And also, do not forget yourself in that, meaning, and Steve, you and I have talked about this a lot, taking good care of ourselves as the
Yep.
individual entrepreneur, or the person that's in charge, the founder, the CEO, whatever it is. Taking care of that person means that you have to be well rested, you have to take care of your health, you have to make sure to schedule in downtime. Well, if you're going to have downtime and vacation time, who's running the business whenever
That's
you're
right.
gone? You have to make
That's
sure
right.
that is taken care of. All of those aspects are also part of that. And I think that once you start focusing on that and getting into the details of it, you'll start to see that there really are no shortcuts. And you
Yeah.
wouldn't want to take a shortcut, actually, when you're really building something substantial.
Yeah, no, I think that's an
Yeah.
excellent point. When you're looking at that, you're actually creating two concentric circles, the big priorities
Mhm.
for the business, and then the smaller priorities for yourself as the business
Exactly.
owner and leader. And what I find is that this activity alone starts to make you ask those harder questions, like, what
Yes.
am I really committed to doing? Where in this, in the business, am I not really efficient, or I'm not good, and where
Right.
I need to ask for help? And then how does that inform me physically, mentally, what I need to do in order to
Right.
get the right investment to support those, but when you start looking at these things, and you already know, and the great thing about being an entrepreneur, you're probably a
Mhm.
visionary, you're probably great at building, you're probably not great at sustaining. At least, I've gone through
Exactly.
this in certain businesses that
Yep.
I've owned. Get really excited about an idea, want to get it launched, I get some early momentum, but I really want to put that in the hands of other people to maintain it and continue to, watch it
Right.
go. But what this does, this process that Ash is outlining, it's super powerful for you to see where are your, potential blind spots within the business. Where would you want to invest your time and energy? Where are
Mhm.
you going to get the best return for that effort, right? From you.
Exactly.
And then where do you need to go hire, or, outsource, or get the right
Right.
assistance? Like one of the things that we do for one of my, for my software company that's kind of expanded to all my companies is, I know that I don't want to deal with payroll. I don't want to deal with the HR
Exactly.
BS. I don't want to mess with, filing, the employment reports, all of the things that are
Right.
necessary when you have employees. So for me, if that would be a painful exercise a couple of times a month that would eat me up and consume far more time for me to get it done rather than
Exactly.
outsourcing that to a company that is responsible and actually financially liable for doing it correctly. Now
Right.
that is off my plate and I can, it's worth the money that I invest each month for them to take care of those things, just like bookkeeping, just like some of the, the
Exactly.
critical things that if you're not good at it, you either hire for it or you outsource
Mhm.
it. But you only get that way when you actually look at what that journey is for the business. And then when you
Exactly.
combine that journey with, okay, where is this bringing me in terms of
Mhm.
my personal, enjoyment, my flexibility, my
Right.
innovation and creativity continue to add value to the company. That concentric circle that you have for yourself, I think also
Mhm.
starts to take shape in such a critical factor. And I don't see enough entrepreneurs doing that.
Yeah, that is true, Steve. I think it's one of those things that we don't really we're so focused generally, okay, initially, especially just on sales. We're so focused on
Yeah.
generating the revenue. We're focused on the money,
Yeah.
really, is what it is. In the beginning, and of course, I mean, in the beginning stage, whenever you're starting anything, and even even further down the road, you're focused on that part. But we lose sight of that, and if we're not really taught this to look that you have to look at everything and that there aren't any shortcuts no matter where you look in your business, I think if you learn that and you're taught that and guided in that way, it'll be just a big game changer for you in your experience for your entrepreneurial journey. I think it really
Absolutely.
is a big thing because people can tend to just kind of lean towards one side a lot, and they think that that's all it's about, but it's so much more
It
than
is.
than that aspect of it.
Yeah, and I think that it's really critical whether you're in the early stages of your business or you have already a well-established company.
Hmm.
Look back at this process and ask yourself, what shortcuts am I likely to take, or what shortcuts are we
Exactly.
taking?
Yeah.
Because those areas have to get fixed because they may
Yeah.
not be detrimental to your business today, but the culmination of how they impact
Yeah.
not only your customers and their perception of you in terms of your delivery of service or product or whatever,
Exactly.
but also when it's not important to you, well, then it's never important to the people that you have working for you. And
It's
no
true.
matter how hard you try, it will never become a priority until you make it a
Yeah.
priority, right? And so
Yeah.
when you take shortcuts, you're telling your people it's okay to take shortcuts as well. And so even in like big things,
Right.
I'll give you one example. Someone that I know, a good friend of mine that I did some free consulting for,
Hmm.
but he played a little bit funny with his payroll numbers and ended up short paying, the government a couple of times on his payroll
Oof.
taxes, which is a huge no-no. But he didn't get
That's
caught, and he did it several times. And then the office manager that he hired, that eventually was intended to take that over, well, she
right.
thought that that was, when they had cash flow challenges or there were
I
issues,
know.
she had already seen the behavior. So she went about doing exactly the same. Well, then it became easy to do it instead of once or twice, in a year. Well, now three,
Consistently.
4, 5, 6 times. Next thing you know, they're doing it consistently. And he almost went to jail.
Oh,
And
goodness.
he was the business owner. He was taking the shortcut,
Yep.
which made it okay for her to take the shortcut. And that could have had
Right.
just devastating consequences.
Exactly.
So you have to be mindful of what you're allowing to happen or why
Yeah.
you are or what you're doing as a shortcut as a business owner because everybody's paying attention. And so
Yep. It's
maybe
true.
they're not taking shortcuts on the things that you see, but what other areas of the business that you don't see that they're taking shortcuts that could come back to bite you in the backside.
That is super important, Steve. I'm telling you, there are things, I mean, it's kind of like your motto of the way that you want to live. Like, what is your ethical, where are your ethics at in
Yeah.
this point? Because you have to really say, okay, is this a shortcut that I really is worth taking? Is it really going to bring me any further? Because I mean, in that situation, that example that you gave, I mean, my goodness, the consequences of that are huge,
Yep.
like seriously devastating. But you have to realize that early. I think the earlier on that you realize this, the better. Is that there just really are no shortcuts. Just
Yeah,
in business,
the
you
answer to
know?
responding to that question is the answer is like, is this a shortcut that I really should be doing? The answer should always be a resounding no.
Exactly. That's true.
When the thought of a shortcut
When the
comes up,
thought
the answer should just be no.
no.
Just say no,
Just no.
right? And I often tell my coaching clients, that shortcuts get taken because people are trying to game the system to get more success quicker, right? The only
Exactly.
time success comes before work is in the dictionary. That's the only
Yes,
time.
that's the only
So
time.
you don't screw yourself by screwing
Exactly.
yourself. And so
Yep.
it's so
True.
important.
Yep.
So,
That's
you know,
very, very true.
we don't want to
Yeah.
shortcut anybody on this topic. However, we want to keep these episodes short, but I thought this was a really important one for us to have the
Yeah.
conversation because this is the ultimate banana peel that can really
It is.
upset the apple cart in a major way. And just like, the example I just gave, can have, significant, impacts. By the way, that individual is still dealing with that 10 years later, right?
Oof. Gosh,
The
talk about
effects of how that
yeah,
impacted his business, how it
exactly.
impacted, I mean,
That's
it cost him to stay out of jail. It cost him a huge amount of money and
oof.
a lot
Yeah.
of legal fees, cost him a marriage. And,
Oof.
the consequences were dire. So
Yeah.
all because, you weren't doing what you're supposed to be doing when you're supposed to be doing it. And shortcuts are
Exactly.
just not worth it. So, but we don't want to shortcut anybody on their ability to give us feedback on this series, what they learned, what they
Exactly.
thought about it, this particular topic, or any other areas they might like us to come back and revisit in a future series of Banana Peels of Entrepreneurship. So, Asha, how can they do that?
Mhm. So you can contact us on our website, conversationwithashaandsteve.com. Or if you're catching us on YouTube, drop a comment and you can definitely reach out to us and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And we'd
Awesome.
love to
All
hear
right.
from you.
Yes,
So,
we would. Absolutely. Well, we'll be back again with another great episode of Conversations with
mhm.
Asha and Steve very soon. But until then, Asha, take care.
You too, Steve.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve. We love to hear feedback and questions from our listeners. Please feel free to visit our Facebook page for more tips and information. You can also email us directly at info@ripplecentral.com for more information.